Okay, today I want to talk about sneak peeks and why I believe that they're an extremely important tool that every photographer should be using to get their clients excited about the work to come, for marketing, for also just elevate your business overall and the client experience overall. One of the main reasons why I absolutely love sneak peeks is because what's the first thing that people ask you at the end of the day? When are the photos going to be ready? Most of the time, I feel like you have that written in your contract, right? It says 6 to 8 weeks, turnaround, whatever you choose to have, no right or wrong, just whatever you choose, right? Personally, I do 6 to 8 weeks, especially during that busy time of year. I need a little extra time to work on my stuff, or you have a backlog of editing, so you can take your time and you're not rushing through, right? I found that 6 to 8 weeks is kind of like the sweet spot where I'm never really ran late. I've come close to like a 6 or 7 week period turnaround when it's super busy, but I've never exceeded that 8 weeks. So depending on whatever you have, sneak peeks is something that is first A is unexpected, right? Most clients have no idea that you're going to be doing that unless you mention it ahead of time. Some people do, some people keep it a surprise. But the first thing that they'll ask you at the end of the day or the shoot, they'll be like, "Oh, when can we expect to see some photos?" Right? Well, my favorite thing to do is tell them, within 3 to 4 days, you're going to have some sneak peeks, and that's going to be a gallery with the highlights of the day. So you'll have photos right away to share with your friends and your family. You're going to have something that you can post, something that you can share with everybody. Not only you can download it, but family members that maybe couldn't make it can download it. And you just see them light right up when you tell them that within 3 to 4 days, they're going to have something to share from all those shots that you just got. That's something that's super powerful. I think that nowadays people just want things as fast as possible. You're also dealing on big wedding days. You're dealing with a lot of guests that are going to be taking their own photos, and having good quality photographer delivered images that they can share right away is going to mitigate having them share photos from maybe a friend or something that got a cool photo. If they know that within 3 to 4 days they're going to be receiving photos from you, professional grade, really beautiful images, they're more likely to hold off and not post Uncle Johnny or Jesse, the friend that took a photo on their phone that looks really good. They might hold off until you send their stuff. So I think that's an important thing, right? That your photos are the first thing that they share. I mean, it's not a make it or break it if they share someone else's pictures, but I think that when they share your photos, people's first reaction and first exposure is going to be to your work, and there's so much excitement and anticipation and build up behind it that the hype just goes up for your business, and people love the images. That leaves a longer lasting impression, not only with a couple but with the guests. They might be like, wow, that photographer's incredible, their work's amazing, and they already sent them photos. That's super awesome. So that's one of the reasons why I think sneak peeks are so important. I think that right away, it'll help them wait until the full gallery is done. Most people are not incredibly patient when it comes to waiting for the whole gallery, which I completely understand. It's an important day. You have all these awesome photos you want to share right away. Well, sneak peeks are, the best way to do it. I think that it sets the expectation also for the rest of your gallery. So when the clients see it and they kind of know that not only the clients, but, the clients finally and everybody else, they can kind of expect excellent work, because the sneak peeks are usually your highlights, your best shots. You don't want to give away all of your best shots, but, some of your best shots. And here I have some pulled up that you can see is an example of my highlights. So if you're listening to this on a podcast, you're welcome to go check it out on the YouTube video, and you'll see what I'm actually taking you through the standard of what I normally would deliver as a sneak peek. Okay. So what I do is I normally pick photos that are going to tell you the story of the day. So It's pretty much going to be a few photos from getting ready, maybe some details. So like a shot of the shoes or a lay flat, a shot of the bride getting ready or the groom getting ready. Little moments that I think stand out and tell you the story and just like give you a tease of what that day was like. When I'm going through picking the portraits, or those moments, I just try to make, mental notes throughout the day of moments that I know were special to the couple, moments where they may have made a comment about how fun that was, or where they saw themselves, like, oh, that was really beautiful, or yes, that light, you showed them the back of the camera and they absolutely loved it. So I make mental notes of those moments or important moments during the day. So when I'm looking at the gallery, I'm looking through the photos and I'm kind of remembering like that was the one, that was a feeling that they had that they really enjoyed. And that's what's going to make that sneak peek gallery. Then again, don't give away all of your bangers, right? Like you don't want to give away all of the best stuff. And then when they get the gallery, they're like, well, what happened? I was hoping that I would get more stuff, or, they might not say it. I've never had that happen, but you don't want to give all of the best shots and then you know anyways, I always narrow it down to like the ones that I think are going to be sneak peeks, and then I leave some of the ones that I'm like, that's an absolute gorgeous one. I leave that one out and I pick a similar one or a similar moment that I know will be good as well, but you want to leave them wanting more rather than satisfied, right? That's what they're sneak peeks, they're little teasers, right? Okay. Some of the images that you're going to pick, they got to have a high factor of wow. So like those moments where the friends might be like, wow, you looked incredible, or they can see themselves in that situation. So this is also a great marketing tool, because now other future brides are looking at these and thinking like, oh man, that was gorgeous. Not only did I watch that moment happen, but I just see myself in that situation. I would love to have something like this myself. So that's another criteria that I have to pick those photos when I'm going through. I always like to add little moments of the couple together. So not only of themselves portraits getting ready, but also of the couple together. I mix it up between, unscripted, kind of real time, just candid moments with some editorial moments. Definitely always include some kind of ceremony moment. This gallery was jam packed. I mean, it had so many photos. So the sneak peeks were, on the more abundant side, I guess you could say. I included way more sneak peeks for this one that I would have in any other one. Not only because we had more photos, but also because they specifically asked for a few more images on their sneak peek. So I went ahead and I added it. I had the time. It was a little bit slower. This wedding specifically was at the beginning of the year, so I had some time to edit, and why not? I like to make my clients happy. So I always include, as I said, some details, some part of the getting ready moments. I like to do a ceremony moment. So it'll be like the kiss, or maybe the reception while they're walking out and everybody's excited and cheering. Then I like to include, if there's a big group photo or family photo, I'll include that as well. I think that's another kind of must have, unless, they're like, they have 200 plus people and you didn't get a big group photo, then don't worry about it. But when it's a more intimate affair like this one, I like to include that family photo, just because, it's important to them, especially if they requested specifically to have a big photo with everybody in it. I like a little romantic moment. As I said before, little editorial moments like this, I think, are really important, where you have that mix of real and scripted with editorial kind of magazine style pics. Then you'll see here another one example of editorial photo of the couple, some more solos, and then maybe I like to do an under a reception time that kind of shows the reception area, what that was like. Once again, your storytelling, right? So your sneak peeks, your highlights of the day should tell the story of the day in just a more condensed version. So like when you look at a book and you're trying to decide whether you want to read this book or not, you look at the back cover and it gives you a snippet of what it was like, and you get an idea of what it was like. That's what your sneak peek should be, the back cover snippet of that book and that story, right? Okay, so You see, this is a perfect example, another little detail of the reception to bring you back into what it was like. And then another thing I like to do is include, so what I'll do is every photo that I deliver in my sneak peeks, I also deliver it as a black and white. So I have my own personal touch for the black and white edits. The reason why I do black and whites is not only does it double the amount of images that they're going to be getting, but it also adds a completely different feel and vibe to it. I'm really into the black and white. Some of the photos that I shoot are deliberately to be delivered in black and white, but I still deliver them in color as well, because there's been countless times where couples will ask you, if you send them a black and white only photo, hey, do you have the color version? Or, I can't tell you how many times I had to do that. And then you have to go back, edit it, bring it over and upload it. So I just now deliver both always, just to save the time, save them wanting to see both. Maybe they might want like one or the other better than you do. So give them the option so they can pick. I love doing the black and white and the color version of the photos. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is, for you watching the YouTube video, I'm going to move on to another gallery. Once again, another shot that I find myself picking a lot of is bridal details. So it'll be shoes, or if it's not a lay flat, I'll try to find like a photo that's, that it's got a vibe to it. So like this shoe shot, that's different rather than just a standard lay flat, something that has a little more excitement, a little more depiction of their personality and their wedding day style. I love to do photos of the bride with a dress, interacting with a dress before they put it on. Sometimes the photos of the dress by themselves can fall a little flat. I think that adding the bride as a prop and interacting, not the bride as a prop, but adding the bride and the dress as a prop to interact with it, always makes for a fun kind of build up to the getting ready, getting dressed moment. I think that's always a good one. Groom's portraits or bridal portrait, groomsmen or bridesmaids portraits are always good to include too, if you have, or even better would be just a wedding party, both groomsmen and bridesmaids. For those, I usually pick, depending on the couple and their vibe, like if the couple was more of like a formal, really like that Vogue style of images, then I would deliver them something a little more serious, more editorial. If it was more of a lighthearted, just wanted to have fun and keep it light the entire time, then I would probably end up delivering something that's more unscripted, in the moment, more fun, everybody laughing, everybody interacting, just kind of like a really fun, exciting memory that when they all look at it, they will love it. Now, a little key tip that I like to do is I like to include photos with a wedding party in them, not only because it's part of the day, but also when the wedding party sees that photo, they're going to want that photo and they're going to share that photo and they're going to want to tag everybody in it, and everybody in it's going to want to reshare it. So your photo is going to get a lot of exposure. So that's another thing you should always keep in mind when sending sneak peeks is, leveraging it for marketing sake. So what's going to get the most shares, what's going to get the most tags, that's always something that, it's not going to dictate the final yes or no, I'm going to include this, but it might sway me into adding one or two more in there for that purpose, because I know it's going to be an image that's going to be shared right away. And if the couple ever says like, oh, I ask them sometimes, I'm going to include some sneak peeks. Is there any specific moments that you would really love to see right away? And probably 80% of the time they'll tell you like, oh, I would love to see, this or that. I've heard a lot of people say they want some portraits, sunset portraits, or, getting ready is another popular one, or a ceremony. But if they say, no, we trust you, then just run with it. But it's always good to ask. You can ask, right? Like that doesn't hurt. I think that anything that has emotional charge to it, so like a first look, a first touch, a vow exchange, like anything that evokes emotion in you, or what's really emotional for the couple or for parents, or what's really special, that's another good moment to add, because anything that's emotionally charged is really going to hit the right strings, and when they see it, it's going to resonate with them deeply, which is going to encourage to share as well, and will bring the happiness and satisfaction factor up higher. Um, then another thing I like to include on here is, well, if you're watching on YouTube, this one right here, once again, it was full day of shooting. We had a ton of images, and there was so many good ones that even what you see here is not even the tip of it, right? There was so many more that were absolute bangers, but I had to include all of these. Once again, an establishing shot of whether it be I try to do an establishing shot of ceremony and reception, and so you can see what it was like for the people that couldn't make it. So what I mean by establishing shot is typically a wide shot that establishes the area, the scene, the layout of the grounds, the decor, all of that. So I try to do one really wide photo of specifically ceremony and specifically reception. The reception doesn't need to be empty. I've really been liking these kind of busier shots in the reception time where I do a lower exposure. Sometimes, servers working or other vendors might be blurry and out of focus, but that's okay. As long as the layout and everything else is sharp and giving you a good idea of what it was like, I like to include that. I've liked that kind of busier, lower shutter speed, not exposure. Sorry, correction. I think I said low exposure, lower shutter speed, where you have a little bit of drag shutter, a little bit of motion blur with people that are moving, but people are still sharp. The reason I like to be doing that is, because it brings more attention to the layout and setup itself. The focus is to kind of convey what the place was like and what the night was like, not specifically focus on an individual. Here's more about setting the scene. So the scene itself isn't moving unless it's hurricane winds. The scene is still and sharp, but the people within it kind of give you that understanding of busyness, of things were happening, people were having fun, food was getting dropped, so it's like the hustle and bustle of the reception, but still getting the beauty of what the layout was all about. If you're looking on YouTube, this is exactly what I mean. In this photo I shot at 1/45 of a second. That's a little bit, I've done slower than that to get more of a motion blur, like 1/5 or 1/10 of a second, especially now with a IS, internal image stabilization feature on mirrorless cameras is incredible. Then if they have a fun dance party and they had a lot of people on the dance floor, I think that's another excellent moment to include the party aspect of it, because that's the high energy, that's like the culmination of the night. That's something that people are going to want to share. So if you capture an epic shot, like here, they had CO2 cannons for this wedding and they were blowing the steam everywhere and the flash went off and kind of froze that moment. And there's a little bit of motion blur and it was exciting. They were having fun. The crowd was reacting really awesomely. So including that was something that I thought would be great. If we look at another example here, once again, establishing shot of the ceremony. Here's something that's super important to me, because it shows what the layout was all about. Here, a big factor of the layout for this specific photo, say, if the ceremony set doesn't have a crazy view, then you might not get a photo like this, where for those of you that are just listening only, this photo is just an empty ceremony, but it has a crazy nice overlook of the ocean and the islands. So an empty shot, which I was able to get. Not always you get the chance to get an empty ceremony site photo when it's fresh and untouched. It's nice to add. If you have it and you feel like it's nice, I think this is a great way to start the gallery off for the sneak peeks, right? Then anything that's important to them, such as a pet that's part of the wedding, or any kind of special detail that has memory and meaning, I include. In this case, they had their dog that walked down the aisle. So, of course, I'm going to take a picture of the dog and I'll include it. For this couple, they had, if they have a moment where, say, they might throw petals up in the air or confetti up in the air at the end of the ceremony, and they emphasize that and they make sure that everybody's ready to do it, then you can probably deduce that that's an important moment to them. So adding a photo that maybe they visualized and envisioned and thought, how cool would it be to have a photo like this? Let's have this moment at our wedding. So adding that photo to the sneak peeks is exciting because they've been waiting to see that photo for so long. So why not give it to them before the full gallery's done? So in this case, they had just that. It was petals flying. So they're coming out of the ceremony. They're all excited. Petals are flying. Everybody's having fun. It's all smiles. And sometimes I include one or two of that moment if there's more than one good one, just because, as I said, what might be your favorite may be their least favorite. And the second choice might be their first choice. So give them options. It's okay to send a couple of options. Just, I always try to limit it to, just single images. It's around anywhere between 10 to 20 single images. When you double it up and do black and white and color, then you'll end up with if it's 10, it's 20. Obviously, if it's 20, it's 40. So single images, not counting the digital copy that's in black and white. I try to limit myself to 10 to 20 images, which it always ends up falling somewhere in between there for sneak peek galleries. Then, group shots, some portraits of them during sunset time, and then a first dance photo or a K-cup photo or a champagne tower photo. That's always a fun, meaningful moment to include on there. Let's see. Let's take a look at another one. Here we go. All right. So this is another one that was beautiful here. And shoe shots that are different. That's something I've been having a ton of fun, is getting photos of the shoes or the details in a different way other than just lay flat, finding places to put them that's unorthodox or something that you might not think of doing. It just adds a bit of interest to it, and adding flash to those photos has really opened up the door wide open. It's really blown the door wide open to the possibilities of locations, because you might find a corner that has a really weird, cool lamp layout on the wall that you can put the shoes on, or maybe you can put one of the details on there and capture it, but the lighting is terrible. That's all right. Cancel the ambient light, put in your flash, and then set up so that the only light source is your flash. You clean that up, gives you that contrast, that pop, that stylish look, and that's what you end up with. And that's something that I've been really into, trying to come up with unique ways to show those moments. So that's basically it for sneak peeks. I think it's a great tool to set the expectation for what the rest of the gallery is going to be. It's a great tool for marketing and for getting your work exposure up into new possible clients, to make everybody that was involved in the wedding day happy, to attract future new clients, to help people wait until the last final gallery is done. So I really do believe that sneak peeks is something that every photographer should be doing. I do these I do these with portrait sessions. Granted, portrait sessions you can get done a lot quicker than you would a gallery like this, but I highly recommend it. I think with portrait sessions, I feel like you could do even like a 1-day turnaround. So I always tell them, under promise and over deliver. So I'll tell them 3 to 4 days, but I try to crank those out in 24 hours. I try to give it to them the next day or the day after. I have friends that will stay up and do it the same night even. So even if you're, a portrait photographer, a baby photographer, pet photographer, whatever you're doing, I think sneak peeks are a great tool to just elevate that client experience and show your couples or your client that you're committed to them and delivering something incredible. And even if it's a portrait session, I always include, it might not be as many sneak peeks, probably gonna be less than what I normally do for a wedding, but I still do it because it's all about the experience. It's all about making them more happy. A lasting impression that they're going to talk about. They're going to be more in love with you and your process. So anything that is a plus for your business, I say do it. And this is one of them. I feel like sneak peeks are a plus. So don't sleep on it. Deliver sneak peeks to your clients, whether you want to tell them at the end of the day or just do it as a surprise. That's up to you. But, have fun with it. And get on those sneak peeks. I think that if you're not convinced on why you should do sneak peeks by the end of the video, then I don't know what else to tell you. Don't miss out. Go do it.